welcome to the Voice community. Whether you are a newbie here or you've been already following us, I'm Natalie, Chief Scientific and Strategy Officer and the co-founder of WeVoice. And in this series of interviews, WeVoice presents you the experts behind AI, those people who are helping us to create the magic and support us on our mission. As you know, we are willing to give back the best version of you to 1 billion people in health, performance, connections, impact, and transform human stress patterns in just 7 to 15 minutes a day. And I'm having a conversation today with a dear friend of mine and the RPT therapist, Elena Markaryan. Lena, hi to you and
Hi.
welcome. Great to see you. Other than being an RPT therapist, Lena is also a scientist, a business developer, and I'm sure she will share about her most exciting pathway in life. I would only give a few comments here that she helps people to minimize the risks and launch their own projects from zero to hero. And without further saying, Lena, I welcome you on stage, welcome you to our space, and it's such an inspiration to have you here.
Thank you.
Lian, I would really love for you to share your story as a human being and as a coach. And if you could comment also on what is therapies that you are using to transform humanity that serve you to be in this field.
Oh, yeah, thank you for invitation. And I use RPT therapy, which stands for Rapid Personal Transformation, or also another name is Reference Point Therapy. The author is Simon Rose. But I haven't always been a mentor. I had actually a tricky path to mentoring. And I'm coming, as you said, or as you mentioned already, I'm coming from scientific background. I was a master's degree in chemistry, and I worked in biochemical lab on developing new medicine. But then I worked as sales manager and business development manager in the international company. And I brought innovation into the market. So I have this background in science, in innovations, and business.
Very multiverse background.
Yeah. And what I've noticed, it seems that even if I would do everything correctly, according to all the business tools, according to linear logic, it won't always work out well. And you wouldn't always get the expected results from your actions. And I couldn't understand why, and my scientific brain wanted to find the answers. And so happened that a dramatic event has happened in my family as long as a war started in my country. And because of that, I was so stressed out, and I had even panic attacks, and I literally was afraid to leave because I expected that I can die any next moment. So you can imagine how stressful I was. And so I decided to find some techniques to eliminate that stress. And because I'm a business person, I wanted something working very promptly, very quickly. I didn't have time for psychotherapy, as it takes too long, as you know. And my finding was RPT, actually. And since 2016, I have studied all the levels of this therapy and applied it to myself first, and then I started to work with people. Why? Because I coped with all my panic attacks quite quickly. It happened quite quickly, and I got sustainable results. Those terrible states haven't returned since then, while we still have, this war and this crisis. And what I noticed in the business is that I also face the stress there. And when you push something innovative, and there is a feeling that the whole world is against you, and when you are rejected by your clients, or when you feel the tension during the contract terms negotiations, when you doubt if that project you start will eventually work or not, and there are a lot of stressful moments during the development of new ventures. And I thought to myself, why don't I use RPT technique in these stressful situations? And I did. And as a result, the more I worked on myself, the better business results I got. and it happened so rapidly. And so what happened? I developed two new divisions in the company, despite that nobody was believing that those new products which I promoted will be successful, because they were too specific, too innovative, they were new to the market, and they were very expensive. And I remind you that we had economical crisis in our country during that period. So despite all that, I had 70% sales growth despite the severe economic crisis, and all those products which nobody could sell before me, I started to sell. So for me, it was like obvious result that this technique actually helps to grow the business. First of all, it helps to grow personally myself, and then as a result, business like results. And so after that, when I saw this connection, realized how I can apply it, I started to mentor other people to gain their goals.
Beautiful. So just to recap, Lena is already for 5 years plus in RPT, and indeed helping to very many clients achieve just tremendous results in a really short period of time. And Lena, why do you think so many people now feel so stressed out and overwhelmed? You a little bit touched on that in your personal story. If you feel like adding something,
Yeah, I studied this question as well. And what I understand, that stress is a reaction. And the question is what brought us to that reaction. And practicing RPT, what I've realized that we have subconscious, I would say, automatic behavior patterns that ultimately bring us to stressful situations. Just to illustrate, what do I mean? Example will be like my client. So the middle manager applied to me to help him with the challenge. He had a lot of enormous amount of force majeures at his job. And he said, like, at the beginning, he saw that like it's something natural, because he has a lot of projects at the same time. He has a lot of contractors, clients, so the human factor takes place there. And but then he noticed that his colleagues who deal with more or less the same projects, they don't have that problems as he has. And we started to work. He knew about me, and we started to work. And I asked him, "How do you feel when you have so many situations, force majeure situations?" And he said, "I feel stressed out, of course, and that is why I came to you. But at the same time, my brain works faster. I promptly generate creative solutions for all these challenges, and actually, I'm at the peak of my productivity and ability." And then I asked him, how do you feel when you solve all these strange situations? And he said, feel powerful and valuable. And I said to him, if I take away this possibility, if you don't have all this force majeure in your life, how would you feel? And he said that he feels helpless and kind of like invisible. And then we started to make RPT session, and we defined that he had such like, it was like a pattern when he had a lot of situations in his life when he felt so helpless and so invisible. And we defined the very first moment where it started, and we transformed this pattern. And actually, already at the end of the session, he felt in a different way. He didn't feel that much invisible and helpless. And after the session, he told me that his projects started to develop smoothly, and he didn't have so much stress, so he could focus on business development more, or business strategy more than, to fight the fire. So to sum up, he subconsciously created all sort of stress in his life. Just this is how he could feel the power and safety. But of course, it worked on subconscious level. You never know that until you work with therapist or unless you observe the connections.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. That actually was so beneficial to see the real situation in life. And I have another question to you, Lena. Why do you think there is such a huge potential to use RPT, especially for recreating the best version of yourself in health and mind and performance, indeed, and impact and human connection by transforming stress patterns? And is there any science behind it?
I would say that RPT has a huge potential. Personally, I apply this technique to all my areas of my life. And it has a great potential because it helps to define the very, very root of the pattern and change it in the beginning, and the pattern that leads to stress. It is so powerful because it works on the level of instincts, which actually are automatic reactions which guide us during the day even without our awareness about that. So RPT actually helps to rewire ineffective patterns, automatic patterns, into effective ones. So your subconscious subconscious mind starts to work on you and your goals rather than against you, like we had this situation with this middle manager. Yeah. So yeah, and it works with instincts, and instincts are the ones which is just with conscious mind. It's very hard to influence on your instincts, and RPT helps to do that during the session.
Right. Are you catching, guys? That's exactly what we're talking about here, to recreate, to transform your patterns that doesn't serve you, that don't serve you, to the patterns that really make a huge impact in your life, that serve you to be at the top of your game. Lena, and talking about the science behind RPT, is there anything that you'd love to add here to the science behind RPT?
Yeah, it's RPT actually based on several scientific like directions, including neurobiology and also epigenetics, and also psychological investigations. But the main like model that RPT uses is the model of three minds. We have the ancient one is instinct mind. It's also reptile mind.
Right.
Sometimes
It's our
it's
brain. Yeah.
yes, and it actually works on instincts. And we have emotional mind, and we have neocortex, and those different like minds, they work with different speed, and the most like the speedy the speedy
Fastest one, right?
the fastest mind is our instinct mind, and that is why we first have reaction, and then we afterwards we think about why we reacted like that and so on. And what RPT helps to do, to work with trauma or with pattern on the level of instincts. So you don't need to think much when you do something. I mean, when you have to decide what to do in your life, or when you have to react in specific way on the situation. For example, during the negotiations or during the contract negotiations, we have like reactions, and we cannot influence that when we are in the moment, in the situation. And RPT helps to work with that afterwards, for example, and to change the instinct reactions on specific stimulus. triggers. And so the next time you will not react like you did previously. I don't know if it's clear.
Makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. All right. And yeah, that's clear. Moving next, um, the question is how long does your session take, and does it work online, and how fast can somebody see the results?
Yeah, the session lasts from 1 hour to 1.5 hours, and it's effective online and offline. I mainly work online. And how fast? It's like immediately right now, right after the session, the person sees the result. For instance, if you have the fear of flying, for example, this is an easy nut. And after the first session, you already won't have that fear and you feel comfortable on board. Of course, if there is a more complex request, more sessions will be needed, but generally one session is needed to change one behavior pattern or one fear, something like that.
I see. I see. So we did, guys. That works right away. And are there any side effects to RPT?
Your life will change and you will have the desire to keep on shift the borders, the limits. And yeah, it's hard to stop working on yourself. That's
Beautiful. I love this side effect. Lena, and can you combine your therapy with any other techniques? If yes, what would be your professional opinion or experience? What works and what doesn't?
Yeah, I have defined my golden combination of techniques. I use RPT for trauma healing and for making changes on the instinct levels. And I use theta healing for transformation of ineffective beliefs. And I apply elements of coaching to help clients focus on their aims. And so I like work on several levels, and in the whole, and at the end they get the result very quickly. So like nothing stops the person, my client, to get the aim, to gain
And
the aim.
since we're already talking about the clients, could you please share who are they? Who are your clients?
You know, mostly it's because like I'm from corporate world, so my clients mostly are those ones who came from corporate world. They are top managers, middle managers, specialists who meet the career ceiling and they want to start their own business or launch the startups, and also company owners and startup founders apply to me as well when they feel that they stuck at some level in their companies. So yeah, I also help them as well.
Right. And what does it take to work with you?
Depending on request, it may be one session or it may be 2-3 months of work, and depends on the request, on the aim, and so on. And I first make a diagnostic session where we defined a starting point of the person and what that person wants to get, and based on that, I make an individual plan for the person and start mentoring.
Thank you for sharing. I so much love this. Is highly immersive, highly individual, and
Yes.
indeed highly personalized. Lena, and if you have any mentors, who are your mentors? Who are people that inspire you?
There is no particular mentor I am fan of. I have very nice colleagues, and when I stuck somewhere, I apply to them. But I'm mostly inspired with people with like wide, big visions. I'm inspired with brave people who really dare to implement their ideas into bring them to life. And I'm inspired by you, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I like people who brave enough to challenge the world and unfold bold ideas. And so Yeah.
Gorgeously said. Gorgeously said. Lena, before we wrap up, if you were to give just one message to the voice community, what would it be?
If you have a dream, don't refuse to dream big. And if you have a desire, a dream, go and claim it. And as you get clear about what you really want, the right people, the right information, the right techniques, and so on, will appear on your way to support you. So just decide that you really want that and go there, and you will see that you will get the help.
Fantastic one. Thank you. Fully absorbed for on behalf of all the VVoice community. And guys, be true to your well-being. The best time is now. So today I had an immense pleasure to talk to RPT expert, to scientist, to business developer, to a very good friend of mine, Lena Markaryan. Thank you so much, Lena. That was a great, fantastic deep dive. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.